Hello and welcome to the Realish Racing Sicily Stopwatch. We are here from the Targa Florio, all 72 kilometres of it, as we have several drivers aiming to tackle the famous circuit in historic Formula 3 cars. My name is Craig Woollard and I'm joined by Neil Heatlie for this incredible contest. How are you today, Neil?
I am wonderful, and look at this, the wonderful sun is shining here at Sicily. And indeed, the Targa Florio, as you said, 72 kilometres of fun. It's going to be a time trial style event, which is, I believe, the first time that we've really done this in terms of a special event at Realish Racing.
Yes, I think so. When you exclude like all the rally championships and things like that, so we will have several drivers heading out onto the circuit in 30-second intervals, and the order in which that they go out will be determined based on their fastest practice lap, in which they've had plenty of time to do so all through the week. And I believe it's Lazarus Philippakos who will start from a hypothetical pole position this time. But as Neil said, it's a time trial event, so it's who gets around the 72 kilometres quickest than anyone else who will be the winner at the end of the night.
Yes, as we're just in warm now, but the thing is, this track is so fast. You've got, because it uses public roads, there's some flat out sections for these historic Formula 3 cars where you're literally just pinned it on the throttle for 2.5 minutes and just building up that speed. And once you build up that speed at the end of that straight, you certainly don't want to miss the breaking point at the end of it.
No, certainly not, especially in cars like these. They're not designed for a huge amount of contact, if you will, but this course has got every kind of corner imaginable. Fast corners, slow corners, straight corners, if you will. And they pass through various towns and villages, on Sicily. And so it's going to be fascinating all through the event to see who comes out on top.
Yes, it is going to be very interesting. Waiting for at least the warm-up session, waiting for at least the grid to be reshuffled to where all the drivers need to be. As you can see, it's special event 81 here at Realish Racing with a race length of yes and a track length of long.
Yeah, 72 kilometres long to be precise, which will be the longest circuit that Realish Racing has ever run. And yes, as you can see, the warm-up action is happening now right behind us, with all the cars going out on the circuit, which is great to see. They won't be able to get any complete laps in
No.
during this warm-up session, but they might be able to get an idea of what's going on. And I think some of the drivers are just having a little bit of fun showboating at the moment as well.
That's having beyond gold, I hear. And he
Yes.
appeared to be, he appeared to be on the brakes and the accelerator simultaneously. Now he's stopped in the middle of the circuit. He's
Ah,
doing a standing start practice.
yes. Standing start practice is very important. You can obviously gain a few temps here and there through maximising your starts. Although there is plenty of opportunity throughout the 72 kilometres to make up for lost ground if need be. Um, the, and
What's happening?
and he's delivering a decent amount of smoke screen to the driver behind as well, as you can see. That's a very good tactic in itself, I suppose,
Yeah,
to
he's
blind the driver behind.
taking a leaf out of Inspector Gadget's book, I think, at that point, trying to blind the drivers behind. But here we go. Another standing start. I believe this is Pete Walker that we're looking at the moment.
Yep.
Right there on the start finish line, and just perhaps practicing at some point a standing start. Maybe when the timer hits zero? No, it didn't hit zero. He's just sat there. I don't know why. Oh,
Well, I mean, it's a nice enough area to look at and enjoy. The Targa Florio is a very historic event, which ran all through the decades in motorsport as part of the World
all the way
Sports
up to
Car
the
Championship.
1970s, I think,
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
it?
part of the World Sports Car Championship all the way up until that's a
Oh.
collision there as Golder hits Mike Bell, and Golder returns to the pits. But yes, it was a fearsome course that was part of the World Sports Car Championship right up until the mid 1970s. Absolutely fearsome, and was definitely regarded as one of the most interesting events of its kind back in the golden age of sports car racing, if you were. As we're on board with Mike Bell now, as he tackles the course.
That crash between Golda and Bell was so strong it actually made my stream crash.
Excellent.
That's how strong that incident was. As we've now got the official timing starts, at least the starting offsets. It begins with Mike Bell, then goes Carlsbad, Cervic, Walker, Gormley, Easton, Brock, Wallace, Parkin, Golda, Shear, Williamson, and Philippakos will be the order that they're going out on 30-second intervals. So that means we'll see the drivers start over the course of 6 minutes.
So I assume that Philippakos' time in practice then was not registered, or it was deemed illegal for whatever reason. But alas, or it's the inverted. I'm not entirely sure. I should have read up on this. But yes, we'll have Mike Bell kicking off the event, and then, as you say, Neil, 30-second intervals for the rest of the grid, and within 6 minutes, the entirety of the pack will be underway on the 72 kilometres, passing all through mountains, towns and villages, and incredibly long straights as well at times. So it'll be fascinating to see who comes out on top.
Indeed, there goes Golda going slowly again, just waiting behind, perhaps wanting to make another practice start at some point. Maybe not. Trying to find the optimum starting angle from the start line, perhaps, is Golda in that number, well, for this evening, the 72 Shark F3 car, the revs going up, and there we go, a lovely launch, not too much wheel spin.
Yes, very good indeed. The tyres are very, very hard, just as they were in the 1960s. These Eve and Spark F3 historic cars are the ones that we're using for tonight, whilst we're also using a Targa Florio mod based on the 1960s as well, as Golda runs slightly wide. And so yeah, it's a very historic themed event tonight, and we've got several drivers running numbers that will be different to their conventional Realish Racing numbers. As mentioned, Golda is running the 72 tonight, which is very different to his usual 10 as he brushes the wall.
Yeah, a little bit wiggly coming on the throttle after that right-handed hairpin, and he appears to have, well, what a landing. That's a fantastic landing there from Golda after taking to the countryside. Yes,
he mounted one of the many verges on this course, and was able to recover it. We had quite a spectacular moment during the practice session where Golda was flipped upside down a couple of times as he spins round and brushes the barrier once again. That will do significant damage to his car, but he was able to recover from that, and here we see Ryan Eastham driving around at the moment, looking pretty clean at the moment.
Yes, looking very clean at the moment is Eastham, making his way around that right-hander turn number, yes, along this 72-kilometre circuit. Now he's starting to go uphill. Look at the crossroads. He appears to have killed one of our cameras embedded in the middle of the road there as he makes his way again uphill, all the way uphill, and oh, he's mounted. Oh no, that's not gone wrong. He will need a new radiator.
Yeah, I don't think that's the way to approach that particular corner. We won't be referring to corners by names or numbers because there's simply so many of them. Oh dear. Um, as he drives into the crowd and reverses into more of the crowd.
Oh no!
That's not gone well. Let's put it that way. But I think the key to getting around this track will be to do so carefully rather than specifically trying to go for lap time. As clean a lap as possible as you're going to get around here is going to be the key to a decent finishing position. As you can see, Arwen Brock, beautifully drifting around that particular corner. But yeah, there's so much of this track around, it's impossible to learn all of it at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is essentially impossible to run this. And of course, in real life, when Joe Siffert was I think it was Joe Siffert and Brian Redman won it in 1970. When they did this, it was an 11-lap race round this circuit. We're only doing one this evening, but 11 laps would be absolutely incredible. And also the best part of what, if we're doing 40-minute laps, times that by 10 gives you about 400 minutes, 440 minutes, which is the best part of 7 hours.
Yeah, something like that, which is about right for one of the World Sports Car Championship events of that period. As you say, we're only doing one lap around here, so as Arwen loses it quite spectacularly.
Oh no! Where's she going? Where's she going? Where's she going?
Back to the
She might have jumped back to the bit.
And we're now on board with Campbell Wallace in his traditional
yeah.
number 64. But yes, one lap, so it'll be a pretty short event tonight. We tend to not run particularly long races here at Realish Racing anyway. But even by our standards, it'll be a relatively short event. In terms of the full length of racing.
Yeah, that full length of racing, as we're now counting down. You can see in the corner 5 seconds left of warm up, which means someone else is going is making their car into a lawnmower there on the right hand side and rejoining. But yes, the checker flag is following the warm up session, which means we're about to begin the Sicily Stopwatch.
And it looks like as someone goes down a grass verge that we'll be going racing soon, finally, after some technical gremlins that have affected some of the drivers. We should be about to go racing shortly, hopefully, Neil.
Yes, hopefully we should be able to go racing in the very near future here at Targa Florio. Of course, I say racing though. Racing is a very nebulous concept. Is a time trial here, and we're starting off with Mike Bell leading off the time trial.
Yes, Mike Bell. It says lap 1 out of 2, but ignore that. It's just 1 lap. I think that's more just for safeguarding purposes. But there'll also be 2 hours on the clock in game, so the drivers know when they will have to head off in the 30-second intervals. And these cars have got horns as well, so some of the drivers are abusing that fact as we're about to get underway really soon. Here we go. Yep, the metaphorical lights are coming on, and Mike goes for it.
Yes, and there we go. Mike Bell away on the first person away. 30-second head start he will have over Carlsbad as he needs to try and not make a mistake on the 72 kilometre circuit. That is far easier said than done.
And it seems to be all pretty good so far for him, which is obviously important, having a good first part of the lap as April Carlsbad gets underway.
Yeah, here comes Carlsbad next, of course, in an almost identical car 30 seconds behind is Carlsbad, and that tracks with the 30-second differences. You can see the plus and minuses there on the left-hand side on the tower, so theoretically, Bell should stay more than 30 seconds ahead to at least have a chance of winning this special event.
Yes, that's the easy way to work it out. As Scott Sovic gets underway in his somewhat interesting one-off livery for this event, driving number 73, and he's started off pretty nicely as well, as we now await Pete Walker.
Indeed, Pete Walker is going to be the next car off, and you'll see that timer clicking up to 30 seconds on the left-hand side, and there goes Walker, perhaps a little bit early. I'm not sure. No, it appears he's still 30 seconds behind. It was just the timing tower having a little bit of a problem, but Walker in that 88 car goes out next, and again, the 72-kilometre daunting challenge for Walker.
Yes, it almost looked like he missed a gear, or had trouble getting in gear on that start, which is a bit of a shame for him, but there's plenty of time to be able to make it up as Mark Gormley gets underway with a similarly slow getaway.
Yeah. That was a very, very slow getaway there from Gormley coming off that start line. You can see how much time he's lost. He's lost 2 seconds already to Walker.
Yes, he might have just played it very, very safe with the start, just to make sure that he didn't gain an advantage. If you do, jump the start, it's not just the time that he gained as a penalty, but it's a 60-second penalty on top of that as Ryan Eastham gets underway. Also driving number 20. We've got several drivers driving number 20, which is a little bit confusing.
Yes.
But yes, he looks like he's got a pretty solid start.
Yeah, a very solid start there from Eastham, as you said. And having a look, indeed, it's about 23 seconds down in Gormley. So I think Gormley definitely did not have a good beginning to this race. Eastham's already made up a lot of time.
As Arwen Rock gets away, she was only half a second or so behind Eastham in qualifying, which over 72 kilometres is absolutely crazy.
It was 14 metres.
14? Yes.
14 metres, yes.
That's absolutely incredible. It's as Campbell Wallace gets underway in a car that I assume he will be revelling to be in tonight.
Yes, that number 64, and of course classic F3s really is his sort of jam. It is his genre, if you will.
Yeah, certainly. Campbell does like old things, if anyone knows him, is aware of. As we wait for Kieran Parkin to get underway, he's a little bit further down the grid than we would expect him to be, even in cars that he may not necessarily perform particularly well in. He's got a very striking livery tonight, as we have a look at Mark Gormley, who's he's getting along quite nicely. He seems to have he's got up to speed finally, as we wait for Bjorn Golder to...
He's lost a little bit of time. He's now 37 seconds behind the car in front, so he's lost a little bit of time when compared to Walker, for example. But as you said, yes, here comes Bjorn Golder, the German, in the German liveried car, accelerating off of the start finish line.
Yes, as it sounds like somebody had some sort of incident somewhere. However, there is 72 kilometre of circuit. It's a little bit difficult to see where that may be as Neil Sheard gets underway.
In that 145 car, accelerating off the start finish line again, a good start from him. That was definitely signs of crashing from someone. Having a look at the timing tower, nobody appears to have lost a lot of time, so I think it may have just been a bollard.
Hopefully, hopefully it's nothing too significant, as we await for Chris Williamson to get underway about now. And he's got away pretty well, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's a good start there from Williamson as well. But having a look at the timings. Brock is caught right up to Easton, only 22 seconds separating them now. And Golder's caught up to Parkin, so it might have been a little bit of spin for Kieran Parkin there, because Golder's only 20 seconds behind.
That would be a huge surprise from the multiple champion, Kieran Parkin, multiple special event winner as well, as the last car has set off. So
yes. Car number 13 has gone off. Lazarus Philippakis, the Greek, on the controller. How terrible must that be to try and use a controller on this circuit of all of them?
Yes, you don't get opposite lock. You get opposite finger. Because it twitches massively.
Goodness gracious.
Oh, brilliant. That's Kieran. I think he's brushed a fence somewhere, so he's not having a particularly strong opening to the special event by the looks of it, as that's an interesting camera angle. But he seems to have regained a bit of momentum at this point.
Yeah, a little bit of momentum gained for the Cornishman there, as Parkin is making his way through the... Well, at this point you really need a rally co-driver to help, don't you? He's taking a small excursion off of a verge. There's a small car there. He's managed to evade the car. That's not going to help his lap time.
No, it won't help his lap time, but... Oh, Christ. But he was able to get back underway, which is good, and the time loss there will have been only a few seconds, so it's not the worst case scenario for him.
No, as we just cut away with him at a very jaunty angle coming around that corner. Anyway, having a look at Mark Gormley, 38 seconds off of Pete Walker now, so he's lost a little bit of time when compared to Walker in that Power Motorsports car. But here we go, he's going to go for the fast right-hander now, just to gear down by the sounds of it. You need to really be cautious, and you've got to be careful of that deadly arm throw.
As for the lead battle, I think Scott Sovic might be in the lead at the moment, only 28 seconds behind April Carlsford, and Mike Bell is also losing a little bit of time.
Golden might be in the provisional lead as well, though.
Yeah, quite possibly. It's only 10 seconds or so behind Parkin now. It's a little bit difficult to work out exactly who's on what time at the moment. But we will have to see as the race comes to its conclusion, as a bit of a lock-up from Gormley, but I don't think he lost out too much there.
Gormley's lost about 10 seconds to the leader, because if it's every 30 seconds, he should be plus 120 to be equal with Mike Bell. You can see down there he's plus 130, so it's about 10 seconds off of Bell's time as it stands.
As he locks up again, he may not have got his braking bias correct, which will be an issue because these cars do not have onboard brake bias adjustments, because these cars are from the late 1960s. As we go on board, watch Campbell Wallace as Alwyn Brock has gone
Brock is on the wrong
scenic route around the Armco, yes. But was able to recover it crucially.
There we go. that was the incredible scenic route there around the Armco. That is true.
That was very impressive, I must add. But yeah. We've got our first retirement. We have our first retirement.
It's Parkin.
Kieran Parkin is out. Yes.
So the Cornishman is out of the Sicily Stopwatch and will not win the special event number 81. Now this kind of ruins all of the timing, because you have to kind of guess where they're going to be. Bjorn was 10th off of the 10th of the line, which means 9 times 30 should give you 270, which means he's about 15 seconds ahead of Bell at this point, I think.
Oh wow, that's a monstrous opening stint from Golder if that's the case, and that puts him in a very strong position at this point to take this victory. I'm not entirely sure when was the last time Golder won a special event. It might well be a Crashmas, at some point, but even then that would have been through some shenanigans with the point scoring, let's put it that way, as is so often the case in Crashmas. But he locks up a little bit there, so it's not having an all plain sailing, as we're on board with Campbell Wallace as well, who's 212 seconds behind the leader.
212, he ran, he's getting very close to his Hingle race. He went off 8th as well, because he was in front of Parkin, if memory serves me correctly. So 7th by 30 should give you 210, which means he's about 2 seconds off of Bell as it stands.
Mm-hmm. Yes, certainly. So it's all very, very close at this point, which is a bit of a surprise, given the wide range in quality of the drivers that we've got, and the total difference that this event is in comparison to anything else that we've ever really done here at Realish Racing. The most comparable thing really is the Rally Championships, but even then we do that on Dirt Rally, which is an entirely different platform.
Yeah, an entirely different platform was Dirt Rally, and is Dirt Rally 2.0. We're having a look at Wallace. He's certainly keeping up the pace with Bell as we're reaching. Well, I'm not exactly sure how far around this lap we are at the moment.
No, I'm not entirely sure either.
Bell left the start line approximately 12 minutes ago. So we're about a third of the way, just under a third of the way through this special event, and there is Mike Bell making his way around the hairpins as it stands, these very, very windy, almost mountain pass-esque roads, as he's still climbing all the way. It is Bell, and of course he's got a purple first sector because he was the first across.
Yes, certainly. This part of the course, that's a nice bit of trail breaking there. This part of the course does have a... that was not deliberate. That could not be deliberate. That was controlled. I would say controlled chaos, but it wasn't even controlled. That's what you really sort of get with Mike Bell. He's fantastic when it comes to controlling oversteer, especially in things like touring cars and that. But this part of the course does have a lot of hairpins, and it does wind up and down the mountains, as we get another curious camera angle there with that's a wonderful tree.
That's also a wonderful tree.
But
as we're having a look at Eastham now, and he's also gone purple in the bottom as well. Is Eastham the fastest of all?
Oh, quite possibly. He's only 163 seconds behind.
It should be 5 by 30 would give you 150, which means he's 14 seconds off of Bell as it stands.
So that's very interesting to see indeed. Yes, it does look like the likes of Pete Walker and Mark Gormley have dropped a little bit, which is why Eastham's 23-second interval doesn't look quite as good as it is. Yes, Sovic is
up on Bell.
Big time. He's nearly 10 seconds ahead at the moment. So Scott Sovic, the Formula E driver, is starting to really bite into this. And
look at that! Using every single centimetre available, going up on the verge.
Yeah, certainly. He's really, really enjoying this particular part of the course. But it's not just the winding roads that the drivers have to manage. It's towns and villages, as Arwen clatters into one of the many bollards. I don't think they'll do too much damage, and if it does, it will be pretty negligible to that particular part of the car. But it's towns and villages and really long straights that we've got to come as well as yet.
And it looks like that excursion that we saw a few minutes ago from Brock has not helped her lap time. She's currently 33 seconds down on Bell at this moment in time.
Yes, certainly. So that's a lot to make back up, and Campbell Wallace is approaching on the circuit as well. So in the event that a driver does close right up to a driver in front, they're going to have to get past the old-fashioned way, which on a circuit as narrow as this is easier said than done.
I don't think we've actually got any rules for how to approach this sort of situation, but yes, it's far easier said than done. Here comes Sheard. He is currently in 10th. He rolled off 11th, which means 10 times 30 gives you 300, which means he's only 9 seconds off of Bell.
He's 9 seconds off of Bell, but he's about 20 off of Sovic at this point. So, and it's spun round, and he's climbed up the grass verge. Is he able to recover it? Yes, he is. So that's good for him, but he seems to be stuck in neutral. But he gets back underway eventually.
There we go, just kick the clutch in. Just give it a little bit of just give it a little bit of caressing, and eventually it will work. But indeed, as you said, but look at Carlsford. Carlsford's 8 seconds off of Bell, so I think Carlsford and Cervic is really the battle to look at the moment.
Yeah, quite possibly. I'm curious to see where Golder fits into all this as well, and possibly Wallace, as we seem to have lost Mike Bell. Oh, no, there we go. We're on board. We were briefly on board with the Englishman, but we've gone back to trackside view.
I think
he's hit the wall. He's hit the wall, Neil.
Oh, he's hit the wall again. Oh, that's a big hit. That suspension will not be happy.
No, and as you can see, the car is already crabbing. So that's going to be a huge job for Mike Bell at this point to come through and win this event, especially from such a deficit. As that's Arwen that's having another excursion, and Campbell's gone off as well. Have the two collided together? They've come together. Oh no, they've come together. And Wallace is ahead, and Brock has retired.
That's it for the Welshwoman.
Yes, I can only assume that they made some sort of contact on the circuit, but I would be merely speculating at this point. But Campbell Wallace is back underway.
Yeah, I thought Wallace might have just gone off in sympathy.
Quite possibly. That would be a very Campbell Wallace thing to do.
That would be a very Campbell Wallace thing to do, this is true.
But yes, Campbell's now got a nice big gap of about a minute to the car in front by the looks of it.
Yes, 1 full minute to Eastham, which means he's got a lot of clean air and he doesn't really have to worry about trying to overtake another car as it stands. And look at that gap between Bell and Carlsford. It's just 4 seconds now.
Oh, yes, that's huge. So Mike's crash has really hampered him big time. Another driver who's very close to the car in front is Lazarus Philippakos, who's only a couple of seconds behind Chris Williamson at this point. And they've also both drivers have overtaken Neil Sheard, who seems to have had another incident somewhere. But we can't seem to see where he's gone, unfortunately. So he might have disappeared. He may well have ended up in a tree somewhere, for all we know.
Where's he gone?
Look at that, brilliant onboard pictures. If we go on board with Carlsford, who overtakes Bell, who seems to let Carlsford through on the circuit, which is very gentlemanly from Bell. As the Swede goes into the lead on the circuit.
I'm going for first, says April's Carlsford, as she overtakes Mike Bell. Indeed, that puts the car that ran off second into first place and kind of squanders Bell's hopes at winning this special event. So it's now to look at the gap between Carlsford and Cervic. But also Golda still as well, I think, has a very good chance of being a surprise winner down currently in 8th place.
Yes, this is going to get very confusing for us now, because we need to take into consideration that it's no longer the driver that set off first that's the time to beat. It's the driver who set off second. So we will see how that all plays out as Philippakos comes up to pass Williamson and does so. I think Williamson didn't make it too difficult for Philippakos, who's particularly rapid in races where he starts at the back and is able to come through and overtake so many people to come through and take a strong result. As we look at Mark Gormley, who is circulating quite nicely at the moment, and he's only about 4 seconds behind Pete Walker.
Yes, only a few seconds behind Walker as he's making his way through the mountain pass section now down to Walker's retired.
Yes, Walker's retired, so that's the 4th retirement this race. As Sheard has also returned back to the pits, if you will. So that leaves just 9 drivers on the circuit at the moment. So that gives Gormley, crucially, the clean air that he will need. Yeah, 100 seconds of clean air, which is a lot. Scott's Mike's had another accident. That's a big one. As Sovic goes through into 2nd place on the track. As Bell recovers once more, in a hope to try and salvage something at this point, but obviously his car is very badly damaged.
That was just a bollard you saw flying up about 10 feet above the road surface. I think Bell might have hit that bollard. But yes, Mike Bell, as you said, trying to salvage at least something. It's now down between Karsgaard and Cervik. Look at that, 31 seconds separate the two of them now, 30 seconds. They're essentially dead even after, well, I make that after about 21 minutes of driving.
So we're about halfway through, maybe even a little bit more than that at this point. As we see some brilliant onboard footage with Mike Bell, who goes off again and clatters into another bollard. He's really not having an ideal race at this point, and he crashes once more, so his car must be properly battered, which is not good for him. But
well, it could be tactical to try and even out the suspension again.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, at what point does he have nothing else to lose? So he may as well try and make it as drivable as possible. But it certainly does look a handful. But I am very curious to see what the likes of Wallace and Gold do fit into the time picture in all this. It's not something that we're really going to fully understand, I think, until we get towards the end of this race.
Yeah, it's really not going to be something until we see in the dying seconds of this event. Cervik now 29.9, 29.8 seconds finds Karsgaard almost neck and neck. And here's Campbell Wallace, 223 seconds now behind Karsgaard. But the real question is, what's his lap time? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure either. But as you can see, the lead between Karsgaard and Sovic on the circuit, and 30 seconds is the crucial number at this point. So above 30 seconds is better for Karsgaard, and below is better for Sovic. But as you can tell, it seems to be swinging so much either way at this point. Although Karsgaard just has opened up another 1.5 seconds or so of a gap. So, I mean, we've still got a very, very long way to go, and a lot of racing still to happen. So let's see how things pan out. But at the and as I say that, Sovic claws back about 1 second of that lead that Karsgaard had, and retakes the lead once more. So it's going to be a swing between the pair of them, I think, for the rest of this.
Yes, it's going to go to and fro between these two very, very talented drivers. But again, you've not got to count out Golda as well, because I think he could just be there in the background, because we really haven't seen him make any mistakes so far. As we're 23 minutes into the lap for Karsgaard, 22.5 for Cervik, which means they've got about 17, 18 minutes to go.
Yeah, so we're well over the halfway point at that's not going to do Golda's chances any good, as Neil goes for the curse of the commentator. But I think Golda is about. I think Golda's car is totally ruined.
I think he's beached on that verge.
He might well be beached on that verge. He's also facing the wrong way by the looks of it. based on that road sign. So I wonder whether he's
Yeah,
flipped
but road signs
over.
go in both directions.
But yeah, so it doesn't seem ideal. Let's see if he's able to get back underway, but it doesn't look likely. So we might have our fifth retirement.
Yeah,
And
Bjorn is not going for Golda with that effort.
oh no, that was bad. Oh no, he was facing the right way.
Yeah, he is
He may have
facing
just
Golda.
been. Ooh, oh
Oh,
dear.
oh no, there goes the road sign.
As the road sign falls through the circuit, I think Bjorn is trying to get back underway, but
Yeah,
I think he's waiting for the rest of
on
the
the
pack
verge.
to get through before attempting to rejoin the circuit. But he does seem beached, so yeah, that's not getting out by the looks of it. So that leaves Karlsvard and Sovek out at front at this point, I think, and potentially Campbell Wallace on for the final podium spot, as Golden does indeed retire.
Yeah, that's it for the German.
And at the front, Karlsvard has opened up a 2-second lead, 3-second lead at this point, so that's looking strong for her, as those are some interesting trousers at the side of the circuit.
What a pair of trousers!
Yes,
I want those.
Yeah, certainly. This has got such a late 1960s flavour to it. It's brilliant. As we watch Sovik negotiating the circuit, you can see there's a lot of movement on the steering wheel there as he passes all the sheep inside of the track. As you would expect from these kinds of cars, you have to really put a lot of hand movements into them to make them go quickly. Oh, as Mike Bell has another excursion, this time going up one of the many verges, but is able to recover it.
Yeah, able to recover it after going up those verges, but it's certainly, that win is certainly slipping away. It's now, what, 47 seconds behind Karlsvard?
Yes, which is...
Maybe not 52, actually.
It's more than that, because... it's about 55 seconds behind that Bell is, as we watch Mark Gormley, who, after that somewhat sluggish start, seems to have got some solid momentum behind him at this point.
Yeah, it seems to be going at a good pace now is Gormley. And again, we haven't really seen him make a mistake, and the same goes for Eastham that we're currently looking at the moment as well. We haven't really seen any mistakes from either of them.
Yeah, I don't seem to recall them. Although it doesn't mean that they haven't made those mistakes.
This is true.
There has been plenty of opportunity for them to do so. But Eastham seems to be having a pretty solid run, and Campbell Wallace is back underway as well after his excursion, which we do believe was separate to the Brock incident. Yes.
As Wallace is making his way up the hill, he's 23 minutes and 20 seconds into his lap as he's having a look around this wonderful Sicilian scenery here at the Sicily Stopwatch event. And I think Sovik might have made a little mistake somewhere, because he's now 42 seconds behind Karlsvard.
Oh yes, so that swings it big time in Karlsvard's favour. 12-second lead. That's huge, really, at this point, and it's really only going to take a mistake from the unflappable Swede to change that. I think at this point, when Karlsvard is on form, she's very, very difficult to beat, especially in events like this, really.
Yes, and especially because we do say that Karlsvard is always better racing when she does qualifying, and she qualified on pole. That's very ominous for everyone.
Well, I mean, she qualified second behind
Well, that's
Bell.
true. Yes. Please ignore what I just said. Thank you. As we're having a look at Williamson now, he's 22 minutes and 20 seconds into his lap as he's making his way up towards the crossroads. And something with these historic F3 cars, no wings. It's like a very early Formula 4.
Yeah, essentially this was just before the time where aerodynamic devices such as wings and little winglets started to spring on Formula 1 cars. So it was only natural that they would eventually sprout up on Formula 3 cars not long after. It was 1968 really when these wings started to appear on Formula 1 cars as aggressively as they did. As we see Mark Gormley passing one of the many towns. Some beautiful scenery around the circuit, and some iconic pictures have been taken at this particular circuit. But yes, this was before we had slicks and wings and all these sorts of things on junior Formula cars.
Something that I've just seen is, remember when we said a few minutes ago how Gormley had a 100-second gap to Civic, roughly, for clean air? If you have a look at that gap at the moment, that's only now 105 seconds. He's really not lost that much time to Civic over the past few minutes. Only 5 seconds.
As Campbell Wallace hits a house, but he gets back underway, thankfully. I don't think too much damage was done to the house.
I think he just literally touched the house. It was a very Larry spin, and it just like touched to the house indeed.
But yeah, certainly. And as you can see, the tributes to some of the many racers who drove here, such as Vic Elford, as Campbell drives into a very solid hay bale.
That was a surprisingly solid stack of brass.
Incredibly solid.
That was incredible.
But yes, you'll see tributes to drivers such as Vic Elford, Nino Vaccarella, and so many others around here. As Mike Bell has another incident brushing a wall, and the mental toll that the circuit has is starting to play on some of these drivers, I think, especially ones who have already had several incidents around here, and they'll just be looking to get to the finish and just to get this over and done with.
And here is Civic. We're looking at him now, 39 seconds, 40 seconds behind Karlsbad, which is of course a 10-second deficit to the Swede as he's starting to come down the hill and down, of course, towards the ocean. He's 30 minutes 40 seconds into this run, which means he's going to go about 8 minutes left.
It sounds like there's been an incident somewhere else on the circuit for somebody, which must have been. It probably was Bell again, which will be a misfortune for him. But you'll have noticed that Sovic has clawed back some of the time that he's lost to Karlsbad, so I don't think it's quite out of it yet at this point, especially if Karlsbad does take it a little bit easier. I'm not entirely sure whether Karlsbad would be keeping an eye on the gaps, but she's clever enough to have identified Sovic certainly as a potential threat in this race, and will probably be keeping an eye on what he's doing. But if she's aware that she's got a 10-second gap, she may take it a little bit easier, but she doesn't want to take it too easy, especially with so much of the race left to go.
Yeah, so much of the race left here to go at Sicily. And look at that, Karlsbad can see the sea again. You just saw a little glimpse of it through some of those camera shots, which means that we're starting to get towards the end of this race, because when you reach that coastline, it's essentially a 3-meter flat out. Oh, Karlsbad's hit the wall!
Yep, Karlsbad's hit the wall, brushed it slightly, so I think she's gotten away with it. We will see further down the line. But yes, at this point, they've done all the climbing, and now they're doing all of the climbing back down the mountain as we see those wonderful trousers once more, as we see Sovic come into the one of the many towns.
Yes, one of those many times that this 72-kilometer circuit goes round. And look at this, what is the gap now? It's 43 seconds, so Karsgaard is 13 seconds to the good at the moment, as we're starting to get into the final 5 minutes of this event, at least for the leaders.
Yes, certainly. It'll be a little bit longer before all of the cars come to the finish. Chris Williamson... Oh dear. Chris Williamson may not be finishing this event if he's not able to recover that, as he seems to have gone over the barrier, and he's got back over. Well done, Chris.
Yes. There we
go. Very well
Using
recovered.
The power of sim racing.
That's very well recovered. Do not try that one at home, especially in your historic Formula 3 car, as April is now on the incredibly long straight, which just goes on seemingly forever. It goes on for a good few minutes as we have a look at Mark Gormley, who's continuing to perform pretty well at the moment, and it seems like the gap that he's got to Bell is down to only half a minute on the circuit, which means it's about a minute ahead on the track at least.
Yeah, a minute on the circuit, a whole 60 seconds. Of course, there's a whole starting gap, if you like, that he's pulled out, because of course they were only 30 seconds apart to begin with. But yes, Gormley, we said he was 100 seconds behind. I know that make that about 117, so he's lost about 10 seconds over the past couple of minutes. Perhaps just a little bit of an incident somewhere on the mountains. Here is Philippakis as well, and I have no idea what sort of lap time Philippakis is on for.
Yes, I don't know either.
I don't know.
He's just clattered the Armco there, which will not be ideal for him. But he seems to be going okay at the moment. I mean, he set 2 purple sectors, but I think everybody set purple sectors.
Yeah, everyone says purple sectors.
That was a very well executed drift.
Again, that was not deliberate. That was just, I refuse to believe that was deliberate.
Like I said, a nice bit of opposite finger there. That definitely wasn't deliberate, unless he is just showboating at this point. But
yeah, that looks very wobbly actually under braking for that left hand. I'm wondering if he's got a little bit of damage. I think that's crabbing slightly.
Yeah, so I wonder as well. As we finally got some live timing up, thank you to to video producer Fraiser Harley for this, for giving some of these sector intervals, which will be incredibly handy going forward. And it does seem like the Carlsbad set the fastest second sector
by 9 seconds over 11 seconds.
Yeah, by a good 11 seconds or so over Sova, because Camper performs a brilliant drift coming out of that particular corner, turn number whatever it is. There's a lot of turns around here.
You appear to have just praised Campbell. Are you feeling okay?
No, I'm not. Anyway, as he comes into another one of the towns, he's going along very nicely at the moment after his excursions earlier, as we have a look at April, who's going very slowly.
Has she run out of fuel? No, she's finished.
Has she finished?
38.50 is her lap time. Oh, Sovic's gone off!
Sovic has indeed gone off. So I think that may be game over. The interval time is no longer relevant at this point.
Yes, the interval time is no longer relevant, this is true.
Yep. So we can now see what time April has done, which is a 38-minute 50 by the looks of it.
And
Sovic has come across and is slower.
By the looks of it, indeed.
So the question now is whether anyone can beat Carlsbad.
That 38.50.894 set by Carlsbad. Next up is going to be Mark Gormley.
Scott Scovitt's time, by the way, 39 minutes 39.954. But yes,
might not include the 30 seconds.
I'm not entirely sure on that one.
That make it a 30.09, which would mean 19 seconds would be the gap for.
That would indeed. That would
Oh,
sound
right.
about right based on where they were earlier in the
Yeah.
session.
Gormley came off 5th, which means he has a 2-minute deficit to Carlsbad, I should say, rather. He's got a 90-second deficit to Carlsbad, so whatever lap time Gormley sets, take off 90 seconds.
So he'll be looking at 40 minutes 20, I do believe. 0.894, obviously, if he's going for the win. So let's see how that pans out. But he's going along quite nicely at the moment.
I think he's a little bit off. Having a look at those timings that we got provided by our producer, at least in the middle sector, he was about 35 seconds off of Carlsbad's time in the middle sector.
So he may not necessarily be on for a win, but I think almost anyone still running is on for a podium at this point, other than probably Mike Bell and Chris Williamson.
Indeed.
So we will see.
And here comes Gormley.
As he negotiates, and as he comes to the line, and we haven't got the time come up.
A 41.48. If you take 90 seconds off of that, that makes it a 40.18.
40.18, which
I think
sounds
roughly
viable, I think. And Mike Bell is the next driver to cross the finish line, hopefully. And he's missing a wheel.
He has done that. He is missing a wheel. This is true.
He's going to finish with 3 wheels on his wagon. And he does so in 42 minutes 27.844.
Which makes it a 42.57 in relation to Carlsbad, because you remember you've got to add 30 seconds because Mike Bell started 30 seconds before Carlsbad.
Or do we need to take 30 seconds off of April's time? I'm sure the results will become clear later on. But Ryan Eastham, I believe, has finished as well. So that's a very good job from him to get to the end of this race, as Bell has one more collision.
He's got one more final collision.
Yes. As Eastham has an off as well, and we now wait for Campbell Wallace to come to the line.
Indeed it is. Campbell Wallace, the Scotsman, will be the next car eventually crossing this start-finish line here at Sicily. And look at this, making his way along the final stretch. The left-hander now. Make sure you don't hit the Armco.
And he's hit the fence, which is not quite the Armco, but he's
hit the fence.
I mean, crashing into wood is less damaging than crashing into metal barriers.
This is true.
Basically, so. But yes, Campbell is coming up towards the finish line now, and he crosses the finish line in 36:34-ish. I am not entirely sure. But yes, we will see as the final 2 cars come to the finish. We've got Lazarus Philippakos.
It's Philippakos.
Yep.
And then Williamson, 235 seconds behind.
So we've got quite a bit of time to wait before Williamson comes to the end, but Lazarus is still absolutely hammering it around. So he's still gunning for a very strong result by the looks of it. And seems to have had he's brushed the same barrier that Wallace has hit, but seems to have got it back under control. He's only got a few more corners to go, so there shouldn't be too much of an issue for him.
Yes, it should be a good result for Philippakos. Went, he comes across the start finish line, which he is about to do. And a nice little flare almost in the final corner, wasn't it?
And immediately brushes the wall.
Well, more than brushes it. He immediately forgets to turn.
Yep. And we now wait for Chris Williamson to come to the line, but we've got a little bit of time to wait before he does so. I assume his car is quite severely damaged after his
Severely
earlier
broken.
incident. He's still heading towards Palmero, as we see the
Palermo.
fans. Yeah. Yes.
What a set of trousers on that man! Fantastic! I love them.
Brilliant. I think Chris is now only going on to the incredibly long straight by the looks of it.
Yeah.
So yes, it's a very quick chicane partway down the straight, if I remember rightly. So it'll be interesting to see how Chris tackles that. It's our first look really at the very long straight. There isn't a huge amount really to say about it other than it's a very long straight.
Yeah, it is that, and they're just building up speed constantly because it's ever so slightly downhill as well.
Yeah, certainly. So this is obviously going to be the fastest point of the circuit.
You can see him weaving about on the straight due to suspension damage. That's got to be scary.
Just a little bit. But he seems to have it relatively under control, which is something. Yeah, you can definitely tell that the car is weaving ever so slightly.
There's a little bit of suspension damage, yeah.
It's very bumpy as well, this circuit, so that obviously won't help matters. But as long as he keeps it under control and is able to get the braking point right for the heavy braking zone at the end, that's all that really matters at the end of the day.
But wasn't that a lovely camera view of 2 seconds ago? That was... As there's a fast chicane somewhere down here, and they're just waiting for it. I think it's here.
Yep. And Chris has got it stopped nicely for that particular corner, which is what he would have been after. Locks up a little bit as well. But it does seem like that April Karlsvard is provisionally the winner of the event, provided that I think we're beyond the point now of Chris coming through to take victory, sadly. But yes, it does seem like the Karlsvard is provisionally the winner, with Scott Sovic in second and Mark Gormley in third.
Yeah, I would make it. Yes, no, I agree with that. I think it is Karlsvard, Civic, Gormley, the top 3 for this event.
That does sound about right. Obviously, do check realishracing.com and the various
forums. Racing or villageracing.co.uk or what's the other things? Dolphin.rodeo. But yes, Chris Williamson is now making his way eventually towards the end of this enormous 72-kilometre circuit. He's about a minute from the end.
Yep, it's about a minute behind. As the crowd goes wild, as it doesn't watch him navigate the circuit, they're looking the wrong way. But Neil, who's been your standout driver from today, and who would you say has been a little bit disappointing for you?
Well, I would say standout driver of the day, perhaps a little bit of a dark horse. I've gone from Mark Gormley. We've seen how fast he is sometimes in the regular seasons, but to come, well, provisional third in this special event is a very, very good showing from Gormley.
Yes, certainly. I was kind of expecting a little bit more from Golder. As Chris is locked up right at the end. Oh no. I was expecting a little bit more from Golder after such a strong start to the event, but it just didn't quite happen for him as it progressed, and he got himself beached, which is very disappointing for him as Williamson crosses the finish line.
And there we go, that is it for the Sicily Stopwatch. And it appears, indeed, it is April Karlsvard, your winner.
Yes, certainly. So, congratulations to everyone who finished that race. It was a very daunting event to participate in. Um, so Neil, how do you reflect on this particular event, the 81st special event here at Realish Racing?
It's incredibly fun, and of course, it was something incredibly unique that we've never done here at Realish Racing before. And it really goes to see. Well, it's almost like driving a rally without a co-driver most of the time, especially around the circuit, isn't it? So we get to see at least has the who has the ability to really make things up as you go along. If you like to be able to read the road conditions perfectly and to be able to make their fastest way around, and it appears that April's Carlvard did do that job today.
Yes, certainly, and you would expect nothing less from April. Incredibly quick and very adaptable to most cars and to most circuits. So it makes sense that for an event that is so diverse from what we normally do here, that she's the one able to come out on top. I do think it was quite spectacular that Mike Bell was able to finish with 3 wheels as well,
Yes, of course.
which was very exciting for sure. And also a shout out to Scott Sovic for finishing the second and having that very interesting battle in terms of time with April for so long.
Yes, it was an incredible battle, just watching that gap go up and down, all the way through the race. But as you said, it is April Karsvar taking home the virtual non-existent trophy. And from myself, Craig Woollard, well, no, I'm not Craig Woollard. From Craig Woollard and myself, Neil Heatlie, thank you for watching. And hopefully we'll see you next time here at Realish Racing.